Mental wellness as a daily practice begins with recognizing that the mind is not a machine that can be switched on every morning and expected to perform perfectly without care. It is living, changing, responding every moment to experience, stress, hope, and disappointment. Many people think of mental wellness as a final destination, as if one day they will arrive at complete peace and never struggle again. In reality, it is much more like tending a garden. If you water it one day and ignore it for weeks, the plants will dry, weeds will grow, and the beauty will fade. In the same way, mental wellness requires small, repeated acts of care. Sleep, nutrition, gentle movement, reflection, honest conversations, and moments of silence all work together to keep the inner world balanced. None of these acts are dramatic. They are ordinary habits practiced consistently, and that consistency is what protects clarity, focus, and emotional steadiness. Seeing mental wellness as a daily practice also changes how we think about setbacks. When a person has one anxious day, one unproductive morning, or one evening filled with worry, it does not mean failure. Just as missing one workout does not erase physical fitness, one difficult day does not erase progress in mental wellness. The important question becomes not why did I feel this way, but what can I do today to support my mind again? That shift in perspective removes shame and replaces it with responsibility and compassion. It allows a person to stand back up after emotional fatigue, to try again tomorrow, and to understand that growth is shaped through repetition rather than perfection. Daily practice also means paying attention to internal signals. The mind always sends messages, but many people ignore them because life feels too busy to slow down. Irritability, forgetfulness, constant tiredness, loss of interest in meaningful activities, and physical tension are often quiet calls for rest or change. When someone responds early by adjusting workload, speaking to someone, or taking time to recover, the mind feels supported. When those signs are ignored for months, stress builds into burnout. When people say everything suddenly collapsed, most of the time it did not happen suddenly at all. It was a long series of unheard messages. Mental wellness as a daily practice is the art of listening early rather than waiting for a breaking point. An important part of this practice is the environment that surrounds a person every day. The content they consume, the people they interact with, the language they use with themselves and others, all of these elements shape the emotional climate of the mind. If someone spends every day comparing themselves online, absorbing constant negativity, or staying in relationships where they feel unseen or disrespected, daily stress accumulates. On the other hand, surrounding the mind with encouraging conversations, gratitude, learning, creativity, and supportive people slowly strengthens inner resilience. What we feed the mind today becomes how it thinks tomorrow. This is why mental wellness cannot be achieved in a single inspirational moment. It is built through repeated choices in ordinary days. Another powerful part of daily practice is self-compassion. Many people try to motivate themselves through criticism, believing harshness will produce discipline. But the mind does not thrive under attack. Just as plants do not grow faster when yelled at, the mind does not grow stronger through constant self-judgment. Speaking to oneself with patience and respect after mistakes creates a safe inner space. That safety makes it easier to try again, to learn, and to change habits. Mental wellness is strengthened when a person becomes their own ally instead of their harshest enemy. This is not indulgence. It is a realistic understanding that human beings learn better when they feel secure. Emotional health, the second keynote, is deeply connected to this daily practice. Emotional health does not mean avoiding sadness, anger, fear, or disappointment. It means allowing those emotions to be felt, understood, and expressed in healthy ways instead of being buried or denied. Many people were raised to believe that strong emotions are signs of weakness or immaturity. They learn to keep everything inside, to smile while hurting, to say they are fine when they are not. This might make life appear calm on the outside, but inside those unexpressed emotions gather pressure. Eventually they emerge through anxiety, physical symptoms, sudden outbursts, or deep exhaustion. Emotional health begins with the simple permission to feel. When sadness appears, it is allowed to be acknowledged rather than pushed away. When anger arises, it becomes information instead of something shameful. Emotions are messengers. Sadness may be saying something meaningful was lost. Anger may be saying a boundary was crossed. Fear may be saying caution is needed. Joy may be telling us that something aligns with our values. When emotions are listened to with curiosity instead of judgment, they guide wiser decisions. Suppressing them, in contrast, blocks that guidance and often intensifies distress. Feeling emotions does not mean being controlled by them. Emotional health also includes regulation, which is the ability to calm the nervous system and think clearly even while emotions are present. This is learned through practice. Simple actions like deep breathing, grounding attention in the senses, writing out thoughts, talking with a trusted person, or taking a short walk can shift the intensity of emotion without denying it. Over time, the mind learns that emotions come and go like waves. They rise, peak, and fall. No emotion is permanent. This understanding reduces fear of feeling and builds confidence that even strong emotions can be handled. Emotional health also involves honest expression. When someone consistently pretends everything is fine, relationships become shallow. When they gently express what they truly feel and need, connection deepens. It may feel risky at first, especially for those who learn to stay silent, but genuine expression allows others to see the real person behind the mask. It also breaks the illusion that everyone else is always strong and only one person struggles. In reality, every human being carries invisible battles. Speaking honestly about emotions creates a culture of understanding rather than isolation. A crucial insight is that emotional health supports physical health. Emotions are not only ideas in the mind, they are experienced in the body through heart rate, muscle tension, sleep quality, and immune function. Long-term emotional suppression can contribute to headaches, digestive issues, chronic fatigue, and other difficulties. When emotions are recognized and processed, the body relaxes. People sleep better, think more clearly, and experience more energy. In this way, emotional health is not separate from overall wellness. It is one of its central pillars. When both keynotes come together, mental wellness as a daily practice and emotional health as the willingness to feel, a powerful transformation happens. Life still brings challenges, but the person facing them is steadier inside. There is less fear of emotions, more awareness of needs, and greater resilience when stress arrives. Instead of chasing a perfect life without discomfort, the focus shifts to building skills that allow us to move through discomfort with wisdom and self-respect. This creates not only productivity or outward success, but a deep sense of inner stability and authenticity that can carry a person through every season of life. Asking for help as a sign of courage begins with a shift in how we view strength itself. Many people grow up believing that being strong means handling everything alone, never showing tears, never revealing confusion, and always appearing in control. This image looks powerful from a distance, but it often hides exhaustion and loneliness. Real courage is not the absence of struggle. Real courage is the willingness to face struggle honestly. When someone says I need support, they are not collapsing, they are choosing growth over silence. It takes bravery to open up, to admit limits, and to allow others to witness moments of vulnerability. Avoiding help can feel easier in the short term, but it quietly deepens stress. Seeking help takes active effort, self-awareness, and trust, which are all signs of inner strength. There is also a powerful misunderstanding that asking for help will burden others or make them think less of us. In reality, every human being has needed help at some point in life. No one learned to walk, speak, read, heal, or succeed entirely alone. When a person seeks help from a friend, mentor, counselor, teacher, or professional, they are participating in the basic human truth that we grow through connection. Communities, families, and friendships are built on mutual support. Refusing help does not make someone independent. It often makes them isolated. Accepting help reminds us that we belong, that we are not alone in our experiences, and that others are capable of care and understanding. Courage in asking for help is also about honesty with oneself. It requires facing thoughts such as I am overwhelmed, or I do not know what to do next, or I am hurting more than I admitted. These thoughts can feel uncomfortable because they challenge pride and perfectionism. Yet without this honesty, problems are pushed underground where they gain more power. Speaking them aloud releases pressure and opens possibilities. It allows solutions to appear that were invisible when everything stayed bottled up. People often report that the hardest part was not the conversation itself, but the decision to begin it. After that moment, relief and direction gradually follow. There is another layer to courage that is important. Sometimes the help needed is professional. Therapy, counseling, or psychological support is still surrounded by silence in many societies. People fear being judged or labeled, but professional help is simply expert guidance for the mind, just as medical help is guidance for the body. No one is ashamed to consult a doctor for persistent pain. In the same way, seeking mental or emotional support is a responsible act of self-care and maturity. It says my well-being matters enough for me to reach out. That is not weakness in any sense. That is a clear declaration of self-worth. Asking for help does not erase personal responsibility. It actually strengthens it. When someone reaches out, they are actively choosing problem-solving rather than avoidance. They are participating in their own healing rather than waiting passively for things to change on their own. This participation is an essential part of resilience. Courage here is not dramatic or loud. It is often quiet, shown in small steps like sending a message, scheduling a session, or finally telling someone the truth about how one feels. These are small on the surface, but they open the door to deep transformation. Connected to this is the fourth keynote, the truth that self-care is not selfish but essential for survival and well-being. Many people feel guilty when they rest, say no, or take time for themselves. They have learned to value themselves only through productivity or service to others. But a person who never refuels eventually runs empty. Just as a candle cannot light another when it has completely burned out, a person cannot support family, friends, studies, or work if they are constantly exhausted inside. Self-care is the process of maintaining the mental, emotional, and physical energy required to live with purpose and connection. It is an investment that allows someone to continue giving without destroying themselves in the process. Self-care is not only about spa days or vacations, although those can be helpful. It is built into everyday boundaries and choices. It looks like getting enough sleep, choosing nourishing food, moving the body, limiting toxic environments, saying no to commitments that overwhelm, and allowing time for hobbies and silence. It also includes emotional care such as expressing feelings, forgiving oneself for mistakes, and stepping away from relationships or situations that consistently cause harm. None of this is selfish. It is an acknowledgement that each person has limits, and honoring those limits is key to long-term health. There is another important truth. People who practice real self-care actually become more present and supportive in their relationships. When a person is rested and emotionally centered, they listen better, think more clearly, and respond with patience. When they neglect themselves, irritability increases, empathy declines, and small stressors feel unbearable. In this way, self-care is not only something we do for ourselves, it is also something we do for the people who depend on us. Caring for oneself strengthens the capacity to care for others without resentment or depletion. Self-care also requires unlearning cultural messages that glorify constant sacrifice. Many communities praise those who never stop working, who never pause, who always say yes. While dedication is admirable, unending self-neglect is not heroism, it is harm. The body and mind eventually demand repayment in the form of burnout, illness, or emotional collapse. Choosing self-care is choosing sustainability over self-destruction. It is the decision to build a life that can be lived for many years with energy and clarity instead of burning brightly for a short time and then fading under pressure. Both keynotes together form a powerful foundation for mental and emotional well-being. Asking for help when needed and practicing self-care daily are interconnected actions. Asking for help is itself an act of self-care, and caring for oneself makes it easier to feel deserving of help. Together they create a healthier narrative of strength. Strength is not silent suffering. Strength is awareness, communication, rest, and responsible action. It is choosing wellness over appearance, reality over pretending, and long-term health over short-term pride. Healthy boundaries as protectors of peace and energy begin with understanding that every person has emotional, physical, and mental limits. These limits are not signs of weakness. They are natural indicators of what a person can carry without losing themselves. Many people move through life saying yes to every request, every responsibility, every demand on their time, thinking this makes them kind or loyal. What often happens instead is quiet exhaustion. The mind becomes crowded, the body tires, and joy slowly disappears from daily life. A boundary is simply a clear line that says this is acceptable for me and this is not. When those lines are respected, inner calm grows. When they are crossed again and again, frustration and resentment take root. Learning to set boundaries is an educational process for both the person and those around them. At first it may feel uncomfortable to say no, to ask for space, or to step back from situations that drain energy. The discomfort does not mean the boundary is wrong. It often means the person is unlearning years of people-pleasing and fear of disapproval. A healthy boundary is not about controlling others. It is about controlling what you will or will not participate in. For example, choosing not to answer work calls late at night, choosing not to engage in conversations filled with disrespect, or choosing to leave environments where you feel unsafe or constantly stressed. These choices protect mental clarity and emotional balance. Boundaries also teach others how to treat us. When someone always accepts disrespectful behavior, others may assume it is acceptable. When that person calmly states that they will not engage in disrespect, the relationship dynamic begins to change. Some people may resist these new limits because they benefited from the absence of them before. That resistance can make boundary setting feel selfish. In reality, it is a step toward healthier connection. Relationships built on guilt, fear, or pressure drain energy. Relationships that honor boundaries allow both people to feel valued and safe. Protecting peace and energy through boundaries is closely connected to self-respect. When someone believes their needs matter, they are more likely to take actions that support their health. Without boundaries, life becomes reactive. Every message, request, opinion, or crisis pulls attention away. With boundaries, life becomes intentional. A person chooses where to invest time and energy, which relationships to nurture, and which activities truly reflect their values. This leads to greater focus and less emotional chaos. The mind no longer feels constantly invaded by demands it did not choose. A common fear is that boundaries will push people away. Sometimes they do reveal which relationships were only sustained because one person constantly overgave. But boundaries also attract healthier connections. People who respect themselves tend to connect with others who do the same. They communicate more clearly, argue more fairly, and recover from conflict more quickly because expectations are not hidden. Over time, boundaries become not a wall but a clear doorway. They show where entry is welcome and where harm is not allowed. Healthy boundaries are essential for preventing burnout. Burnout does not appear overnight. It grows slowly when a person keeps saying yes while their mind keeps whispering no. It grows when rest is seen as laziness and overwork is praised as dedication. By defining limits in advance, such as how much work is reasonable, how much emotional labor one can give, and how much alone time is needed to recharge, a person builds protection around their energy. This protection allows them to give wholeheartedly when they choose, instead of giving from a place of emptiness. Connected to boundaries is the power of positive relationships in building emotional resilience. Human beings are wired for connection. From infancy onward, our nervous systems respond to voices, expressions, and presence. Positive relationships do not remove every difficulty from life, but they change how the mind and heart experience those difficulties. Resilience is the ability to recover after stress, disappointment, or loss. Supportive relationships act like anchors during emotional storms. They remind us of our worth when self-doubt is loud. They offer perspective when problems feel overwhelming. They hold space for sadness, anger, or fear without judgment. Positive relationships are not simply relationships that look happy from the outside. They are relationships where honesty, respect, and care are practiced consistently. In such connections, people can express emotions without being mocked or dismissed. They can disagree without being insulted. They can share success without causing competition and share pain without being made to feel dramatic. These environments help the nervous system relax. The body feels safer. The mind becomes more open to problem solving. This state supports resilience because it is easier to stand up after a fall when someone is standing beside you. Emotional resilience grows through shared experiences. When people talk about their challenges and hear others say, "I have struggled too," isolation breaks. One of the heaviest weights during emotional difficulty is the belief that no one else would understand. Positive relationships dissolve that illusion. They show that struggle is part of being human. This validation does not solve every problem, but it removes the added burden of shame. With shame reduced, energy can be directed toward healing and action instead of hiding. Positive relationships also model healthy emotional behavior. When you observe someone calming themselves during stress, communicating clearly during conflict, or apologizing sincerely after a mistake, you learn through example. These skills then become part of your own toolkit for resilience. In this way, relationships become an informal classroom where emotional intelligence develops. On the other hand, relationships filled with constant criticism, unpredictability, or neglect can weaken resilience. They keep the body in a state of alertness, as if danger is always near. Over time, this chronic tension exhausts both mind and body. Choosing positive relationships is therefore an active responsibility. It involves noticing how you feel after spending time with certain people. Do you feel seen or invisible, calm or anxious, uplifted or depleted? These inner responses are important information. Resilience is not strengthened by staying in harmful environments hoping they will change. It is strengthened by surrounding yourself with people who genuinely wish you well, and by being that kind of person for others. This does not mean relationships are perfect or free of conflict. It means that even during conflict, dignity and care remain present. Positive relationships work together with healthy boundaries in a powerful way. Boundaries protect your energy, and positive relationships help refill it. Boundaries create the conditions for respect, and positive relationships thrive inside those conditions. Without boundaries, even a loving relationship can become draining. Without positive connections, boundaries alone can feel lonely. Together they form a balanced foundation where a person can grow, rest, learn, give, and receive without losing their sense of self. Stress as a natural part of life is something many people try to escape, yet it follows them through every stage of growth. Stress appears during exams, careers, family responsibilities, health changes, and even during positive events such as marriage, travel, or promotion. The body is designed to respond to challenge with energy and focus. This response can be helpful when used for short periods because it pushes us to act, to prepare, and to protect ourselves. The problem begins when stress becomes constant and unrelieved. That is when it slowly transforms into burnout. Understanding the difference is essential. Stress is pressure that still leaves room for hope, motivation, and recovery. Burnout is a state where motivation collapses, emotions feel numb or heavy, and the person feels drained even after sleep. Stress is unavoidable, but burnout can be prevented when we learn to recognize early signs and respond to them with wisdom rather than ignoring them. Burnout often grows silently. At first, it may look like simple tiredness. People tell themselves to just push a little more, to ignore hunger, skip rest, or silence emotions. Work or responsibilities begin to replace every other part of life. Joyful activities disappear one by one. There is less laughter, less connection, less creativity, and more irritability. Concentration becomes harder and mistakes increase, which then leads to even more pressure. Over time, the mind starts to feel empty or detached. Things that once mattered deeply begin to feel meaningless. This slow decline shows why prevention is more powerful than repair. Prevention means building habits that discharge stress regularly rather than letting it accumulate like heavy dust on the mind. Preventing burnout requires honest reflection. It calls for noticing inner signals without judging them. When the body feels constantly tense, when headaches or stomach problems keep returning, when mornings feel like a burden instead of a beginning, these are messages asking for change. Listening to these messages is not weakness. It is intelligent self-management. A sustainable life balances effort with rest, responsibility with enjoyment, giving with receiving, and ambition with health. Breaks, hobbies, social time, nature, prayer or meditation, and sleep are not luxuries. They are protective factors that restore the nervous system so that stress does not harden into burnout. Another core part of prevention is learning to prioritize. Not every task in life deserves the same level of energy. Some responsibilities are essential, but many are products of perfectionism or fear of disappointing others. When a person tries to satisfy everyone at once, stress multiplies and identity becomes lost under endless obligations. Clarity about values simplifies life. When you know what truly matters, you can choose where to invest effort and where to step back. Saying no at the right time preserves the strength needed for the things that genuinely define your purpose. Support systems also protect against burnout. Humans were not built to handle emotional weight alone. Sharing worries with trusted people, collaborating at work, seeking guidance, and allowing others to help lightens the load. Even simple conversation can release pressure from the mind. It reminds you that your experience is valid, and that solutions are easier to find when different perspectives join together. Burnout thrives in isolation, but connection interrupts its growth. The 8th keynote focuses on the power of inner dialogue and how it shapes our emotional world. Every person carries a voice inside that speaks all day long, commenting on actions, plans, mistakes, and dreams. This voice can become a supportive companion or a harsh critic. The words we repeatedly say to ourselves become beliefs, and those beliefs direct behavior and mood. When the inner dialogue is filled with phrases like "I am useless," "I always fail," "no one cares," or "nothing will improve," the mind becomes heavy, motivation shrinks, and self-esteem weakens. The same situation viewed through kinder language produces a different emotional climate. Thoughts such as "I am learning, this is difficult but possible, I made a mistake but I can repair it," or "I deserve respect" open doors instead of closing them. Inner dialogue is learned early. Many people are unknowingly repeating words once spoken to them by family, teachers, or society. If those words were mostly critical, dismissive, or shaming, the inner voice becomes a mirror of that environment. The hopeful message is that this dialogue can be changed through awareness and practice. Just as a language can be learned, a kinder inner language can also be built. The first step is noticing the tone of self-talk. When something goes wrong, what is the first sentence that arises? Does it attack or support? This observation, done without blaming oneself, begins the process of transformation. Replacing harsh self-talk with compassionate language does not mean ignoring responsibility. It simply means separating behavior from identity. Instead of saying "I am a failure," one might say "I failed at this task but I can improve." Instead of saying "I am weak," one might say "I am struggling right now and that is human." This style of inner conversation reduces shame while still allowing growth. The brain responds to encouragement just as muscles respond to good training. Over time, kinder self-talk strengthens resilience, creativity, and willingness to try again after setbacks. Inner dialogue also influences relationships. A person who constantly tells themselves that they are unworthy may tolerate disrespect, remain silent in unfair situations, or withdraw from connections that could have been supportive. A person who believes they deserve kindness and respect is more likely to set boundaries, communicate needs, and choose healthier environments. In this way, the conversation we have within quietly shapes the conversation we have with the world. Emotional regulation is closely linked to inner dialogue as well. When stress rises, the words we use internally can either calm or intensify it. Telling yourself "I cannot handle this" amplifies anxiety. Telling yourself "I have handled difficult things before and I can take one step at a time" soothes the nervous system. Breath slows, muscles loosen, and the mind becomes clearer. This clarity allows for better decision-making during challenge. Inner dialogue therefore becomes a tool, one that can either injure or heal depending on how it is used. Changing inner dialogue requires patience, because old mental habits often return automatically. Each time you notice a self-critical thought and gently replace it with a balanced one, you are rewiring the brain. Small repetitions create new pathways. Journaling, affirmations spoken with sincerity, therapy, reflective prayer, or mindful awareness practices can all support this shift. Over weeks and months, the tone inside becomes warmer and more realistic. You begin to become your own source of encouragement instead of waiting for others to provide all reassurance. When the understanding of stress and burnout is combined with the practice of healthy inner dialogue, the impact on mental wellness is profound. Stress may still appear, because life will always bring change and challenge. But burnout becomes less likely when the mind is treated as something precious rather than as a machine to be pushed endlessly. Inner dialogue becomes a supportive guide during stressful moments. It reminds you to rest, to ask for help, to value your limits, and to recognize your progress. A kind inner voice does not eliminate difficulty, but it changes the experience of difficulty from a lonely battle into a journey of learning and self-respect. Healing is often imagined as a straight road where each day looks better than the last, yet real human experience rarely follows that picture. Healing moves forward, pauses, circles back, and sometimes feels as if it has disappeared altogether, even when it has not. There are mornings when energy feels strong and hope feels close, and other mornings when old sadness or anxiety returns unexpectedly. This does not erase progress. It shows that healing is a living process shaped by memory, biology, environment, and everyday stress. The mind and heart do not forget pain instantly. They learn slowly, and each small lesson becomes part of inner strength even when it is not immediately visible. When people expect healing to be immediate and uniform, they become discouraged the moment a difficult day arrives. They may think they are back at the beginning, or that nothing they tried has worked. In reality, they are often standing much further along than before. They simply encountered another layer of the same wound. Healing is like climbing a mountain path that curves. Sometimes you walk forward but still see the same scenery, which can make it feel as if you have not moved. The truth is that every step trains your stamina and balance, even when the view has not yet changed. In emotional healing, the same law applies. Insights repeat, lessons return, and each repetition deepens understanding. Accepting that healing is not a straight line reduces shame. Instead of asking, "Why am I still feeling this?" a more helpful question becomes, "What is this feeling trying to show me now?" A setback becomes information rather than evidence of failure. Perhaps the body is asking for more rest. Perhaps a boundary was crossed. Perhaps an old trigger resurfaced because something in the present moment resembles the past. Curiosity replaces self-attack. This curiosity allows growth to continue during difficult times, rather than stopping until everything feels better again. In this way, even slow progress becomes meaningful because it is filled with learning. Slow progress is powerful because it builds resilience. Quick change can be exciting, but slow change creates roots. When you practice a new thought pattern again and again, when you choose calm responses over old reactions, when you return to healthy routines after lapses, the brain rewires gradually. Those new pathways become stronger through use. Each day you return to caring for yourself, even after frustration or fatigue, you are training persistence. You may not notice these inner muscles forming, but they begin to carry you through future challenges with greater steadiness. What matters is not perfection, but returning again to the path of care. Another reason healing feels uneven is that life continues to move while we heal. New stressors appear, relationships change, responsibilities grow, and the nervous system can only handle so much at once. On calm weeks, progress may feel fast. During busy or painful seasons, the mind may feel heavy again. This is not regression. It is a sign that your system is responding to current circumstances. When the load lightens, strength that was quietly developing often becomes visible again. Understanding this rhythm makes it easier to be patient with yourself and with others who are healing in their own ways. The 10th keynote focuses on the idea that investing in mental wellness today shapes a stronger and brighter future. Many people are willing to invest time and money in education, careers, and physical health, yet delay attention to their inner world. They promise themselves that they will rest later, feel later, and take care of their emotions later. The difficulty is that the future is built from today's habits. Unmanaged stress, ignored feelings, and constant self-neglect accumulate interest just like any unpaid debt. Later they may show up as burnout, conflict, or emotional numbness. Investing in mental wellness now is a preventative choice that protects the years ahead. Investment in mental wellness does not have to be dramatic to be effective. It begins with simple, consistent actions that maintain clarity and balance. Enough sleep allows the brain to process emotion and memory. Movement releases physical tension stored from stress. Nourishing conversations remind you that you are not alone. Reflection through journaling or quiet time helps you notice patterns before they harden into problems. Learning emotional skills such as naming feelings, setting boundaries, and asking for help increases your ability to navigate whatever tomorrow brings. Each of these actions is like planting seeds. They may look small at first, but over time they grow into confidence and stability. A bright future is not one without difficulties. It is one in which you are equipped to handle them without losing yourself. When you invest in mental wellness, you are building inner resources. These resources include emotional vocabulary, stress management skills, self-compassion, and the belief that you are worth caring for. With these in place, challenges become easier to face. You may still feel sadness, fear, or anger, but you are less likely to be overwhelmed by them. You know more clearly when to rest, when to speak, when to step back, and when to move forward. This sense of inner guidance creates a future that feels safer and more open. Mental wellness investment also improves relationships, which are central to future happiness. When you understand your emotions and respect your limits, you communicate more clearly and love more steadily. You are better able to listen without defensiveness and to repair conflict without collapse. Children, partners, friends, and colleagues benefit from this stability. In this way, caring for your mind is not only a gift to yourself, but to the communities and families that will grow around you in the years to come. The future becomes brighter because the connections within it become healthier. There is a practical side as well. Mental wellness supports focus, creativity, and problem solving. A rested and regulated mind learns faster and adapts more easily. This means that investment in emotional health today supports academic and career success tomorrow. It also helps prevent costly consequences of burnout or chronic stress. Rather than waiting for crisis to force change, small daily investments reduce the chances of crisis altogether. Just as regular maintenance keeps a machine running smoothly, regular care keeps the mind flexible and strong. Understanding that healing is not a straight road and that mental wellness is a long-term investment creates a compassionate approach to life. You learn to respect your pace, honor your limits, and value the gradual unfolding of change. You stop measuring yourself only by speed and begin measuring by depth and sincerity of effort. Small steps, repeated with patience, build a foundation that supports future dreams. Even on days when progress feels invisible, something within you is practicing resilience, and that practice is shaping the person you are becoming.